All right, so we are live. Just making sure we got all of our technical difficulties out of the way, but I believe we are live. So I believe I can read your comments. So make sure this whole new streaming platform is brand new to me. So not quite sure if everything's working. So make sure you give me a thumbs up or hey TJ if you hear us. But I believe we are live. So we're going to get started. This is the first. I got a thumbs up. There we go. We got a thumbs up. So we are live here at the Drag Coverage Show. The Drag Coverage Show. We're presented by Fuel Tech. Those that, hey, thanks, Josh. Glad you can see me. Those that have been following me on Facebook will know that Fuel Tech has came on board with Drag Coverage. So I want to thank Andre Nunez and the guys at Fuel Tech. A lot of things are coming between Fuel Tech and Drag Coverage. So one of the biggest things that's coming on is we want to describe or explain to the racing community how Fuel Tech can benefit your program. So I've been experimenting, learning the Fuel Tech side. You don't need EFI to run the Fuel Tech side on your bracket car. I know my brother, TJ Pruitt, he's going with the Fuel Tech. I convinced him. He's like, man, why not? You've got the other data software. I'm not going to mention names, but Fuel Tech, the technology is incredible. So really look into it if you're upgrading your car or building a new car. Fuel Tech is the way to go. And but yeah, we're going to get started. This is our second show ever. The second show ever, Drag Coverage Show. The first show we had with Donnie Hager. That was cool. That was the first time I've ever done it. So Donnie is the first person to ever be on the Drag Coverage Show. But a lot of things have happened since the first ever Drag Coverage Show. So it's been a busy year. I went to PRI show, and immediately after PRI show, I moved from New Orleans to Long Beach, Mississippi. So if anybody has ever heard of Long Beach, Mississippi, I'm telling you what, it is a hidden gem. This is one of the coolest places I've probably ever lived. So the best thing about living in Long Beach is I'm 10 minutes, no, I would say, 10 minutes from Gulfport Dragway. 10 minutes. So that's been pretty cool. I can actually hear the cars going up and down the drag strip, which is pretty cool. Had an opportunity to talk with Galen Rollison, Britt Cummins, Tommy Castanito. They're doing a fantastic job of running Gulfport Dragway, so I'm excited. Another exciting thing that's happened since I talked to everybody is with this move, I now have an office. I really feel professional right now with this office. I've never had an office before at home, but I guess you can say Drag Coverage has made it to the big leagues. We got our own office. You see the Drag Coverage poster board here. So that's pretty cool. I even got a flower here. Check out this plant. I'm trying to be professional. Don't tell anybody, but it's not real by any means. Thanks, Tony, for tuning in, by the way, and those that are thumbs up watching. But nonetheless, I'm rambling. This will give people an opportunity to get on. So the most, I would say, which we've only had two shows, one of the most highly anticipated drag coverage shows I think we will have is the show we have for you today. We are here to talk about the opening of Rocket City Dragway, which is the old Huntsville Dragway. And fortunately, I was able to convince David Sharp to come on the show today to talk a little bit about talk a little bit about Huntsville Dragway, which is now the Rocket City Dragway, talk about plans moving forward. And I know those guys have had a lot of struggle getting this thing back open. We doubted him. A lot of folks doubted him, including myself. But nonetheless, this is the man that's making it happen. Highly anticipated show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, David Sharp.
TJ, you're putting a lot of pressure on me here with that walk-in. In fact, I was sitting there looking at this. I need me like 3 junior TJs here at the track. I mean, your energy, I tell you, when, one of the things before we get started here, one of the things I do want to say, what you're doing, there's multiple platforms, but what you're doing with drag coverage to, represent our sport in a positive light. I was jokingly saying the other day that you may be giving Brett Kepner a run for his money. You better, people better not say nothing negative about a drag strip in front of Brett Kepner.
That's pretty tough, man. When you talk,
you're going to get an earful. So y'all are doing great things, and I really think you're doing me a favor. You're allowing us to get the word out, and let's talk about the track. And I'm excited to talk about it.
That's awesome, David. What I really appreciate you. I know it's kind of the last minute. I actually woke up one morning and I was thinking of different shows to have. I've got some different ideas. I'm going to bring Mike Hill on the show later on. The armless archer. It's the coolest guy ever. He has no arms and he drives a pro.
I got to meet him.
Oh man, he's awesome.
Yep.
He was at PRI show.
Great guy.
But it hit me one day, why don't we talk about Rocket City Dragway? I mean, everybody wants to know about Rocket City and the plan, so why not? So I figured this was the perfect time, perfect opportunity to talk about it. And before you get started, I'll tell you how I got wind of it. I was at the PRI show, sitting in the media center, and I want to say, I'm going to rat him out. So Chris Sears comes in the media room, and he says, "Hey, did you see the Rocket City Dragway poster board with the plans and all?" And I said, no, not at all. Let me see. So Chris Sears, if you're listening out, I'm ratting you out. That's how we made the big publication. I think it received.
Yeah, you came out with it right. Yeah, in fact, we hadn't. I've only probably shook 2 or 3 hands there, and you were live. So good on you.
I think it received over 200,000 views. So a lot of anticipation there. So that was pretty exciting. So here we are, David. I mean, a lot of anticipation, a lot of doubts about Rocket City Dragway Open. I know there was a page opened a while back, Rocket City Dragway. We thought it was a joke. I think it said the Rocket City Dragway rules, and everyone shared it and was laughing. And here we are.
The rules definitely, it's kind of like probably minding your business the same, right? As long as people are talking about you, whether it's good or bad, at least they're mentioning you. The rules definitely got a lot of interest, and we'll talk about those, a little bit going into this. But if you take a look at the Rocket City Dragway, how did we get here, right? So Dragway is built in 1961 on the Turner family farms. The Turner family still, in the farming business there. Richard Stocks opened that track in 1961. If you kind of did the money market changeover from 61 today, he spent about $225,000 of his money to put that track there.
Oh wow!
And good news is he's still alive and doing well. And one of the things that I've tried to do with this track is last week, it was really a treat for me. I really enjoyed the historical side of drag racing, hot rodding, especially in North Alabama, kind of knowing the players who laid the foundation to, kind of how we got here to this. You look at these numbers, and you were mentioning Fuel Tech, and you go watch their website on the number, those horsepower numbers that they're turning out on their dynos. That's just incredible. And I've been able. Last week, I was able to get 4 of the previous track owners together, and I jokingly say my advisor staff that I've brought in. I know for a fact that I don't have all the answers, right? I mean, doing a drag strip is hard. It takes a village, but my advisors range from 96 years in age to 16 years in age. So wow. I've got and being able to get those last week and kind of talk to them about, and I jokingly told them, one of the things we're trying to do here at Rocket City Dragway is, if you ask me, my perfect mix would be take PT Barnum Bailey and put them with Chick-fil-A and merge those two together and give that, that kind of good Southern family environment and give them the awe factor. And that's kind of what we're driving to here.
That's awesome. And so it's interesting you say that, because I've always wanted to know the history of how the track was started. So I'm glad you gave a little background that the Turner family, I'm assuming you said it was farmland at one point.
Yeah. And they're, I don't want to give the full story, but it was multiple thousands of acre in their great grandfather's property.
And I'm guessing there wasn't. I know there's some noise issues, and we'll talk about it later on with the curfews and all. But I'm assuming there were no houses around at that time.
No, you're out in the middle of. You had left civilization when you were out in that area back in the 60s, and that's one of the reasons they picked that location to put the drag strip there, because it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And that area now is just, the housing boom is just going crazy in Huntsville, Harvest, Tony, all the surrounding areas.
But not only just the history off the track, when you talk about the Turner family and the farmland and all, but this track has had a lot of history as far as racing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you take the racing side, as so you think about it. I'm gonna play a little trivia with you. You're probably gonna get a little kick out of this. I may.
I'm terrible at trivia, by the way.
Yeah, I got you. So that if you take this track, it's had 6 names. We're hoping Rocket City is the last, but it started out as named Manassas, then it went to Satellite, then it went to Madison County, and then it changed to Huntsville. So I'm gonna ask you, and by the way, it's one of your longtime mentors that changed this track to Huntsville. Who do you think that was?
One of my longtime
It's gonna
mentors.
shock you too.
Don't give it away. One of my
All right.
longtime mentors that turned it to Huntsville Dragway. I'm gonna guess. I could be wrong. So all those that are listening, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say George Howard.
You're really close. Everybody thinks it was Roy Burchell, but Gary Moore had the track, and his silent partner was George Howard for 1 year in 1982. And no one, hardly anybody knows that. I found that in some of the old contractual paperwork that was in place. And then, of course, Mr. Burchell came in with his family, coming a strong business in Kentucky Fried Chicken. And at that time, we were just kids just looking for a place to race. And, what Roy and George did as far as taking this place to the next level is just unbelievable. If you look at the history side, why would I take a name that is been synonymous with Roy Burchell and George Howard? Huntsville, everybody knows Huntsville Dragway. But when you come into Huntsville, Alabama, you're going to roll in there on I-565, and all of a sudden you're going to get the wow factor. And that wow factor is there's a Saturn V rocket sitting vertical. That's 360 feet of it, 6.2 million pounds. And, that thing went to the moon 239,000 miles away back in the 60s. And, we think, and rightfully so, we make big horsepower numbers. But, that Saturn rocket, when it was testing when I was a kid, the whole city shook. That thing put out 7.6 million pounds of thrust.
Wow.
So, that's one of the, as we're getting some of these bookings, that's the first thing people say. So Rocket Center here is one of the top tourist attractions in the United States right now. Huntsville, Alabama, largest concentration of PhDs and master degrees anywhere in the world. And I think we're in the top 3 running for best place to live in the United States. So you may be bragging on your place down there in lower Mississippi, but we're pretty proud of what we've got here. And that history, was founded by a couple of people. And one of the things I found interesting is I was talking to some of what I call the OGs and in drag racing, but the very first race that was put on here in Alabama or Huntsville was in the late 50s. And a gentleman by the name of Cecil Hicks actually had his own timing equipment, but you couldn't race together. They could only do time runs, single lanes. And they actually talked the city into doing that on the street. And you fast forward, and do you know who the very first funny car world champion was?
I do not know. Who is
I'm going to tell you, most people would say, you'd immediately jump out and say, what about Mongoose McEwen? What about Snake Perdome? No, it was a gentleman by the name of Sherrill Greer, and his car was built by that man I just told you, Cecil Hicks.
Interesting.
So you think about it, first car ever built, win a funny car world championship, and I'm telling you, this guy is not in the Hall of Fame.
It's interesting you say all this information. My mind's going right now.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind, I'm going to be honest with you, non-racing related, is Mitchell Seymour. Mitchell Seymour, he's a racer. He sent me a message. He says, man, I can sit and talk to David for hours and hours and hours. His wealth of knowledge goes on and on. So you're telling me all these facts and things I'm learning about the track and the street racing and Cecil and all of this. Man, where's Ryan Gleckhorn when you need him? I'm always depending on Ryan when I need him.
We need to have a separate session. We'll just, me and you and a couple others to go to dinner. We'll just sit there and go. But if you look at this history, you even take one of Richard Petty's 200 wins. Pat Gray actually owned the Speedway, and Pat Gray had one of the very first Thunderbolts, one of the very first all-aluminum Galaxies. He's not in the Hall of Fame. You go take Dennis Mitchell, 6-time world champion, 280 inches, manual shift. IHRA finally put him in the Hall of Fame, but we're going to try to correct that. So some of the breaking news I wanted to give you here, TJ, is that we're in the final stages of starting to do the construction, but we're actually going to have what we call the Rocket City Walk of Fame and the Rocket City kind of memorial. And that's going to be, I guess the best way to kind of give you what we're envisioning here is very similar to what you see at the Veterans Memorial or the police memorials where you have the pavers. So we're going to have the pavers. They're going to be engraved. And this year, we're going to put 20 people in. We're going to put 10 people in at the May event for the top fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to put 10 others later in the year. And part of getting these advisors and all these group in is to make sure as we're doing the selection process that we give it some, thought and do the right thing on who we need to pick here.
That's interesting that you're saying that. So it's going to be kind of like a Walk of Fame. When I think of Walk of Fame or Wall of Fame or a Walk of Fame, I think about Hollywood. I've been to Hollywood before. So these are actually going to be pavers, right? So I'm a little familiar with the racetrack. I've raced there a few times. Andy and Bones used to have the low budget bracket race, and I went to the DRR series, Drag Race Results Series. I really love that track. And
so you start mentioning names like that, and you start bringing up like people talk about the Alabama gang out of Hueytown and Bobby Allison. Well, we got the Bama gang here too. You need to come back to the
tough racers.
You start mentioning like Bones and Andy. I got Sugar Shane Carr. I've reached out to him. We've got Brad Plowd. We got the Whitehead kid, and I'll tell you one. You probably did you ever remember Rick Robinson? Mm-hmm. You ever race against him?
Yeah.
So the joke is, I'm gonna get this chair. I'm gonna get this one of those thrones that Duck's putting out at all his radio races. I'm gonna bring it up there, and I'm gonna bring Rick Robinson in and Scotty Cannon and have everybody kiss the ring as make sure they didn't forget about him.
That's cool. I'm really excited about that. So when that Wall of Fame come, I hope we can be there, and we're going to try to make it a plan to be there for this Wall of Fame.
Yeah, I'd love to have you. I think
that's interesting that you're really doing that. So I definitely want to talk more details about that in a sense. But before we get to the meat, David, a meat of things I want to talk about, which I know everybody on the stream that's tuned in. First of all, appreciate and thank you everybody for tuning in to this show. Before we get to the meat of it, when we talk about plans and track upgrades and stuff, I think it's very important that people get to know you a little bit. You've talked about, which I think is great, you've talked about everybody else and the history of this drag strip and everything else, but we can keep it brief, but can you tell people a little bit about David Sharp? I mean, I've saw a little bit of your Facebook page, and I see you're family oriented.
Yeah, it's not too hard to figure out. I'm family and cars, and those two are about pretty much break it down.
Yeah. So you family, did you race back in the day?
Yeah, I've raced a little bit, not as much. My background is my family's been in the automotive business since 1961. Ironically, right when the track opened up. My dad is a hardcore kind of old school person. May have missed 4 or 5 days total in his life at work. He is committed to his job and his family. You take my grandmother, lived to be 106 right here in Huntsville. I've lived in Huntsville all my life, so I've got to see this thing just balloon up. My background is I've always had muscle cars, hot rods, I've promoted a few big car shows, a few drag races. I'm one of the few that doesn't work in the family businesses that we have there. I am in the aerospace field. I've been in the aerospace field pretty much most of my life. So I'm very familiar with large scale, very complex integration of rocketry and missile type programs. And, I'm hoping to kind of leverage some of that mindset of, due diligence and excellence and execution and being efficient. And that's some of the things I'm hoping to grow this with. And I haven't said that. There's a lot of challenges when you get in a drag strip that I didn't think about.
And it's interesting you say that, and I appreciate you being humble. So what you're trying to tell me is you're a tech guy and you work a full-time job. Is that what you're saying? You work a full-time job?
Yeah.
So this Huntsville Dragway, this Rocket City Dragway it's not even your full-time job. You work a side job. I mean, you work a full-time job. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got some people that's helped me with the Dragway, and luckily for that, I've still got some years here in Huntsville to complete on some few projects we're working on. The end goal is to at some point to try to slow down and retire, but I'm excited for the challenges that's in front of me.
So you said retirement and opening a drag strip. don't go together.
No, yeah,
First of all, are you crazy? What were you
yeah,
thinking?
that's
What were you, first of all, how this idea even came about? You hear,
yeah.
what were you thinking? Were you sitting there one day and you said, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to get this drag strip back open.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I was approached about this multiple times, and um, I love going to the track. I went to the track right after I was born. Just a few weeks, I was at the Satellite Dragway, and the ironic thing was, since you've been to Huntsville, we call ourselves some of the spectator kids, and that meant that the pits used to be on the spectator side, and that's how old school I am. Is back when the pits were on that side, and you didn't have the nice pits that Rick Yeoman and
I
Roy
didn't
Burke.
know that. Anybody, if you're watching right now, if you're old enough or if you've been here around long enough to remember Huntsville Dragway or Satellite Dragway, when the parking, you said the pit park was on the spectator side,
That's
please
correct.
comment.
Yeah, and your return road was on that side as well.
So everything was actually on that side.
Correct.
And so continue on, though.
Yeah, if you take that, one of the cool things about, me being on that side, I remember, I'll give you another history lesson. We had a gentleman there that everybody just knew as Rockin' Ray. And, Rockin' Ray, you think about what I'm about to tell you, this guy back in the early 60s went 676 race wins out of 692 over a 3-year plus period. He is the only car that's in the Talladega Hall of Fame for a drag car. And this is a guy that once you ran him, he'd put your name on the truck lid and check your name off. And there's a lot of heavy hitters that got checked off. And again, another guy that a lot of people don't know about from, probably in your age and others, but, needs to have some, kind of the joke with the younger kids, some respect put on their names. And we're going to do that with this Hall of Fame. And when you look at kind of I told you about some of the challenges here. Dragway's got a lot of challenges, and the world I come from, safety is number one. We cannot have an incident, and, knock on wood, that's not what, we don't want incidents at the Dragway either. And part of this thing we're looking for is for the racers and the fans to, along with the staff here at the track, to help us on this journey of how can we provide the safest facility and the most family friendly and, the most fun environment. And those, when you say you're going to go do those get complicated. I think my most humbling moment is you asked me what really triggered it. Is my son is a huge bracket racer. You don't see many young kids that are like, and I'm telling you right now, he would put Scotty Richardson and Jeff Serra on Mount Rushmore. I mean, this kid watches bracket racing sometimes 6 hours at a time. He loves the practice tree events, and he wants a place to race. And I'm going to try to get this place, built back up to what I remember it to be, and try to put that investment in to make this thing work for not only as a drag strip, but as an event center and, something that the community can use in our area that's beneficial to everyone.
And that kind of leads us to the meat of the thing. So I'm glad you explained that. And first of all, I appreciate your work towards this, because I know it can't be easy opening up anything that's been down and so much quote unquote abandoned, especially in the middle of, if anybody has never been to Huntsville Dragway, you are literally driving through subdivision after subdivision after subdivision after house after house after house. Yeah. You could tell it was a big field at one point in time, but we all know the challenges that Bradenton Motorsports Park, Garrett Mitchell, and Victor and those guys have been going through, with houses building all around them. So imagine you got this community of houses and the drag strip's been closed for some time, and trying to go in there and say, hey, we want to open this back up. So thank you for your efforts. Because I know when I first reached out to you, when I had heard a little bit about you opening it up, you were kind of still in that phase of, I'm trying my hardest. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to go hard for everyone. So yeah, one thing I think we all should really, in a time where drag racing is very challenging, with what all the drag ships are closing. I understand we got several drag ships that are running, but in a time where it's a challenge to keep drag ships open, I think we all should give David a round of applause for his work in getting this drag strip open, but also just your dedication for it, because we all want a place to race. It's like we posted an article the other day about the West Virginia track opening. You had someone, he sold 7 muscle cars. I don't know if y'all saw that on Drag Coverage.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, he sold his cars by the track.
Yeah, 7 muscle cars to open up abandoned drag strip. And I applaud you all, you and him, for opening up what I want to say this abandoned drag strip. So this is very exciting news, because I will tell you, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Huntsville Dragway is a signature premier track for racing. Some of the best bracket racers, heads up racers in the world were born right at Huntsville Dragway. That's where they started their career. So
I'm about to put this Bama gang together. I may have to move back up here. We're gonna start calling out those heavy hitters. I want them here in Huntsville.
Oh, that's right.
So this is just a long history, and one of the things that's taken me a little extra time is we're putting all these schedules. Schedule is an interesting piece too. I could go say I'm going to do what I want to go do, but to be fair, we're trying to weigh against everyone else's events. In Huntsville, you spin the little compass around, and there's 8 tracks within 100 miles of Huntsville, and we're fortunate to have that. You mentioned, some of the closures. I don't want to dwell on the negative, but who would have thought in a 2-year period that you got Atlanta, Memphis, Moroso, you got Heartland, you got it's just not where we want to be. We need opportunity, and these kids need the cars, the power, and the things these kids make now. They need a safe place to race, and those tracks closing does not benefit that.
Right, and I agree with Jeffrey Walker and Charles. Some of the comments in there, it's totally awesome. You'll make it work. Thankful for our opportunity to make more memories at Rocket City Dragway. So that was the point I was going with that. Thank you for your.
I appreciate that. And by the way, this is not just me. I've got a great team, and we're going to talk about some of the schedule pieces. But I've had people that's reached out. I mean, even to the point of we've been on a journey where you said, "Hey, how do you do this?" Literally every weekend, I have been drove or flown to some other state, and I reached out to the Millers in Maryland. They couldn't have been nicer. I reached out to the Torres family up at South Georgia. Think about this, just our community. I reached out to Ozzy down in Orlando, and Torres told me, "Hey, look, if you're doing a big event, Dave, just let me know. I'll truck my equipment up to help you." I mean, I've just been in all that of the people that have reached out, the Olive Branch to help us get there. And you mentioned some of that history and what you remember as far as bracket racing. No hands down. You start looking at what, again, I bring up Burchell and George Howard's name, but they both had what I'm gonna call their wingman. Roy had George Burchell and Kevin Burchell, and George had Jim Howard. And I've got my little man that's he's young, but he's a workaholic, and he gets it. So between that and the team, we're trying to get back to those big things and big events like you mentioned. From 1980 when we signed on to IHRA, I just re-signed with IHRA. I tried to hold the announcement, but the Division 8 bracket finals.
Speaking of, there's your photo.
Yeah. And then look, and I don't know if you got a chance. I would encourage you to, at some point, TJ, go get Larry Jeffers and Mel Roth and Andy Carter and bring them on. Larry is a hardcore, car guy, and he's got his heart and vision in the right place. And Mel Roth could sell you a submarine on top of the mountain. I mean, they're just great people with a vision that aligns with what I'm trying to do here. And we've had a really good relationship on this journey here. You go look at, 93, we had the first 8-mile national event here for the Bama Nationals. 96, we had the first $1 million race. And I'll guarantee you, when George Howard put that race on, I can remember having that conversation with him when he was going to do that at PRI. At that time, we were trying to run Pro Mod a little bit. And he mentioned what he was doing. Everybody thought he was crazy to pay that kind of number. And, everybody doubted him, right? And thing about George, and I've got to grow there, is you'll constantly hear me talking to the team about risk versus reward, right? And George was really to take that risk and go allow for the benefit the drivers. I
That's
mean, he
right.
went out there on a limb, and I'll tell you right now, when you had that Hager kid, that Donnie Hager, that is what he envisioned.
That's right.
A guy with a pickup truck, an open trailer, and a
That's right.
door car just slays the rest of the field. And I mean, I guarantee George was looking down, shining on that kid.
Yeah, and we were very fortunate for Donnie too. It was great to see him receive the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 award. Great job to West Buck, the Drag Illustrated. I really enjoyed that, especially like you said, everyone that's on stage. And it's good to see the small man, really excel on that. So, David, you talked about a little bit about upgrades and stuff, and kind of going into the meat of that. You said that it's been a challenge and stuff. You got a great team making this happen and such. How are we? Let's go into the meat of it. So, how are we now? So, I assume you got some upgrades and plans coming.
Yeah, so we've got some upgrades. We've got some long range plans that you've seen some of that on the. And I'm thinking outside the box here. This thing is not just a drag strip, but it is an event center. I think you saw about, I've got, we had a concert last year. We've had test sessions where people are coming out testing.
So the track's people have already been on the track testing?
Yeah, I've had people on the track. We've had people running, I'm not advertising it, but yeah, we've had people out there running and people have been going down the track. We've had multiple test sessions. We're currently, our big goal here, if you ask me where I want to be in a couple of years, is I'm going to keep twisting the IHRA arm until we get a national type event here. Cool. Great thing about 8th mile drag racing, there's no such thing as a bad seat. Also, I'm trying to, one of the things we're looking at. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking to my dad about that yesterday. He said, which track has some of the best spectating you can possibly have? And we were talking about Huntsville, Atmore, and just different tracks in Montgomery and such. But it feels like you're actually on the track when you're watching that Huntsville.
You're not going to get any closer than Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah. There was probably a little error when they laid out the original bleacher line.
It feels like you're actually on the track.
It actually feels like you're there.
I really like these plans and things you have the IHRA and national events. But as far as the track surface and all, I guess the track surface is still good.
Track surface is great. We had one of the concrete guys come out and take a look at it, and just survey. One of the things we're looking at, as far as another arm that I'm twisting is Donald Ducklong, Scott Tidwell, and that whole group that are doing that Radio Outlaw series. I want that here in Huntsville. That's what I've known Shane Thrillbilly Stack since he was probably 8 years old. Yeah. And I want to give, I've got 8 LDR guys that live right here with, I can drive and take them to dinner, and I'm going to give them a safe place to race, and it's going to be fast. And one of the things we didn't anticipate, now the track is legal for, insurance terms, but you start taking some of these numbers that like Tidwell and team running, 360s and a Pro 275 car, they just need a little more stopping distance. So we just broke ground on adding an additional 400 feet to the track.
You're kidding me.
That's really? Just started. So,
do you mind if I pull up the plans? Do you mind if I pull up the plans so we can kind of talk a little bit about it? So these are the plans here. Let me see. Where's the track? The track's here. Okay, you see the track here, and it's where it says add 400 feet of shutdown. So you're actually adding. So you've actually broke ground already on the 400.
Yeah, they just come out there last week. They just started the equipment, getting that phase of it underway. There's, unfortunately here at the track too, there's multiple dynamics. The joking thing I say is the track was built in 61. Great news. Bad news is it was built in 61. There's some items that's got age on it that just needs some tender love and care on. And, the thing that really impacted us here was this track took 2 direct hits from a tornado. That caused a lot of havoc with the facilities, the bleachers and,
I've seen those photos. I remember those photos. I forget. Bo Bodner sent me some photos of one of the tornadoes I hit back in the day when there was actually a race at the track. I don't know if you've ever seen those photos before.
No, I was actually there that day.
When one of the tornadoes that you're referring to?
Yeah, that's back in the 90 time frame.
I can't even. I'll make sure I'll make sure I post the pictures on Drag Coverage. But there's a tornado. There's a race going on. Tornado hits the track. Trailers flipped over in cars and.
Yeah, that race was
stuff. Brandon said Boatner stuff was oh yeah, there we go. Some tornado of 1995. A lot of people.
Yeah.
By the way, thanks for tuning in. You got South Georgia Motorsports Park on here. That's great.
Yeah,
a lot of other fans.
I can't say enough with again, what the Torres family's doing there at South Georgia, I want to duplicate the way they treat people. And, he's got kind of the same vision. If you look, he just put that mud track in. And I just talked to the construction guy the other day. You think we could put a mud track over here in the corner? So,
and I'll get back to it. So I've got the plans up here. Can you see them on your screen?
Yeah, I do.
Can you want to talk a little bit about the plans?
Yes, I'll talk a little bit about this. So if you look at like Part A, that's what everybody's accustomed to seeing. Over when we come in, you got our event parking there. Where Part B, which has been our parking, we used to kind of be on the other side of the road as well. We've had multiple forestry people out looking at the trees, and kind of where you look at that, where it says cleared, we're looking to cut that.
So where's clear at? Before you go, where do you clear? Okay, I see it where the fuel tech is. It's kind of covered.
Yeah, where the fuel tech is, yeah.
So far right, I see where it says clear.
Yep. And then up there where it's closer to the road where you come in, we're going to thin that out a little bit. We're going to try to make that for people that want to do tent camping and so on. But the intent is for us to put a permanent stage right there where you see those two areas that cleared. Right now, we had a concert last year. Again, we've been open for random events, but we did have the Blues and Funk Festival on Memorial Day weekend. They're booked again for this year. You got to come down and check it out. You missed the Whispers, you missed King George, you missed a bunch of them. So we had a great time.
I love some King George.
And so when you look at that, the end goal there, you'll see some of the farmland there that we're looking to convert and put an additional exit in. Is that going to happen this week?
I see right here. Okay, at the very top right of the screen, it says I believe that says Part G, adding parking and new exit. So I'm assuming that old exit, it was a bit tough trying to get in and out if you had a big rig. If you remember correctly, that was a very hard turn going through that subdivision.
And the other thing that's concerning is we just have, when you have a really big event, you just have so much cross traffic going against one another. So our goal is to make it where people can exit out there. We had the site survey and crew and stuff out there looking at that. Again, is that going to happen this week or next month? No. But here's the long-term, vision that we have for the track. Number one item was get the extension on the track. Number two item is let's get that start that clearing so we can get the trees down so that we can add for the event center. We've been contacted about, everything from carnivals to fairs, and one of the out of the box thinking I've asked the team here to do is they've went off and applied for our FAA license. So why would we do that? Because we want the airspace, and we're in negotiations right now to have a national RC fly-in here.
Okay.
And so again, when you got 100 acres, there's a lot of things you can do with it. And we want to do things that racing is going to be our core, but I want to do things for the community and others to where they see value in what this facility brings to North Alabama.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I will be the first to say of course, drag strips, their main priority is to make money. I mean, to provide a place for racers, but they got to be profitable to stay open. So I'm all for drag strips that have concert, anything we can to bring. Of course, it's got to be community friendly, but anything we can do to help bring profit to the drag strip, to provide all types of racing, heads up, bracket racing, you got to pay the bill. So I'm glad you're thinking of different sources of income to help keep this place alive, because we hope it's here for our grandkids, our kids, and so on. I'm talking. It's great to see Stephen Farrell and those guys in the Chattanooga, Ringo, Georgia, Brainerd.
Yeah, another great track, great group of people.
Thanks for tuning in, Stephen. And I see all the comments here, Jim Gleason and all, Tony Roberts, Brandon Taylor, Bo, Tim Hager. Thank you all for tuning in, by the way. But back where we're starting, anything else? One more thing before I pull this off the skip. These plans here. I'm glad you're adding new pits because I feel like on the bigger events it was a bit tight parking in on the new pits. So so the new pits I feel like is a must, and you're saying it's part of the plans as well.
Yeah, those pits will be. You kind of look at that the way we're sequentially doing that. That is, you'll see that, and I did get my feelings hurt just a little bit. I'll tell you some of the joking things. Not being a former drag strip owner, there's a couple of things that are driving. You mentioned some of the closures, right?
Right.
And some of that has to do with, insurance is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance costs are breathtaking. And there's things that the facility do. There's things that the racers can do. I told you that safety, it will be a broken record. I'll probably bring it up 5 more times to you here during our brief interview. But, I've reached out. We did go buy an ambulance to have here at the facility. Okay. We did go buy an airport fire extinguisher system. We did go buy the rapid deploy fire aid system that goes on.
What did you say about the airport? Is the airport fire system?
Yes, the airport is it's the big skid like you would see normally, like it would put out a large airplane. So we've got that big skid trailered system here.
Wow! So along really taking safety serious.
Yeah. So I never want to have a conversation with someone's, wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend that we had an accident here at the track. And
that's awesome.
If we do, we want to be able to help those individuals as fast as we can. When you look at the kind of the layout here of this property, you mentioned a little bit about the rules, and I'm going to touch on those. That is a no ifs, ands, and buts of the 1,000 direct messages that the ladies got, that they handpicked some delivered to me and some of the other management team. There's obvious that we struck a nerve with some of the rules.
And I'm glad you're going into the rules. And before we go into the rules, I'm going to be honest with you. I have not seen the rules.
Yeah.
I keep reading the comments. Thank you, Dennis Klein, for tuning in. I see James Adcock, Alabama International Dragway, still in the house.
Don't let that Dennis Klein get in the beams where you.
Dennis had a heck of a season last year. Dennis, you've been killing it, man. Let me know when
he won the first championship, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he won down in Orlando, but I don't know. He may have. Okay. Right. Yeah, the fugitive on there. But we'll get back to it. I'm kind of distracted right now. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to this. Got several people online, but before we go into the rules, I have not seen the rules, but I want everyone to please keep an open mind going into this because, number one, this has been a lot of work getting this drag strip together. But as Stephen Farrow knows, and anybody that knows that runs a drag strip, the surrounding community is very important. So before David goes into this rules, please keep an open mind, and I'll try to keep an open mind as well as you go into the rules. But go ahead and explain some of the rules you're talking about.
Let's make it a little simplistic here. So,
are you done with this? These plans? I'll take them down.
Yeah. So we'll make it a little simplistic here. So I told you the track was built in 1961, right?
Yep.
Is basically all farmland, very few residents that lived out here. Everybody were farmers. Now we've had this massive wave. I think the other day the Chamber of Commerce said we're down 14,000 homes here in the Huntsville, Alabama area. And we're just continuing to grow. It's top 3 places to live in the United States, and it's not going to slow down. So I can go take the approach that says we were here first, and the rest of y'all, so be it. But that is not the way we need to approach this. We have got to figure out within ourselves of how we provide value for the fans, for the spectators, and also that we provide value for the community and that we are a good neighbor. And we are going to have a culture change. I've had multiple people ask me, how can I help you, Dave? How can I help the team? How can I help the RCD team? Well, if you ask me, be prepared to really help. So we'll talk about a couple of little simple ones. Probably the one I got beat up the most, or the team got beat up on the most, the girls come to me and said, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe the comments we got. I said, well, as long as, people are talking, let's let them talk. So, but let's take the generator, for instance. We're asking people to, go get an inverter generator. Am I going to mandate that you have to go get an inverter generator? No, I'm not. Are you going to get to park with everybody else? Probably not. So if you've got one of these Noah's Ark, rod knocking, oil burning generators, what do you think that sounds like to the community? And when 100 of them are running together, especially when everybody stayed overnight for a 3-day event, what do you think that sounds like resonating through the whole 5 to 10 mile area? That is not where I need to be. And I'm asking for people's help. And yeah, if you're a young gun and hey, you've got a low budget and that's not in your makeup right now, I understand. We're going to work with you. But if people really want to help us along this journey, things like that is where you can help me. Things like mufflers. Am I going to require mufflers? No. I understand pro mods are not going to have mufflers, but a bracket car, I think you can go look now between the Borla and between the Flowmaster, others, you're not going to see that much difference in ET. Is that going to help me on this journey? no ifs, ands, and buts that's going to help us on this journey. And it's got to be the number one thing that we're trying to do here is this has got to be a family-friendly environment. And we have to show corporate America the value we are bringing in the drag strip community. It amazes me as I've been on this journey and going through different facilities, and please, no one jump online here and start blasting TJ or blasting me. This is just some data to take into consideration. Go to the Trash Pandas baseball stadium, go to the ice hockey here in Huntsville, Alabama, go to your local sporting events down where you're at, TJ, and you're going to see the banks, you're going to see the real estate companies, and they're doing that because they see value.
That's
and
right.
yeah, when you go to the big events like some of the big national events, yeah, you see that type. But we've got to get that core market back here, and that is they've got to see the value there. They've got to see that ooh and ah. They've got to see the community bragging about what we're doing. And hey, this is not just a race facility. They're doing other great things for the community. And I love taking my kids out there. And then also, and now I'm on my soapbox, so you may have to reel me in.
No, I'm laughing at Jared Pennington's remark. Yeah. Mufflers on a race car? Never heard of such. I'll be quiet, Jared.
There you go.
We know you got a radio and mufflers, and we can't even hear you.
Yeah, you got Pennington. What is he? 004 or better on the tree kind of guy. He can afford it. Yeah. So if you take a look at we've got to have kind of a culture change. It's got to be where if TJ wants to go get his family and come out, and you're bringing the church youth group, it's got to be when they get there that we work the deal with them to get tickets. They can't go tell the preacher that XYZ happened that wasn't put us in the best light, right? And so those are the things we're looking to grow and change here. Is it going to happen overnight? No. Yeah. Are the rules, people think that the rules we put out are a joke? Not really. I mean, there are some areas where we're going to work with people on, but we are looking to be again, the Chick-fil-A of drag strips. And I need this thing to be a little more corporate friendly so that when we do bring corporate sponsors in, they automatically say, whoa, I got it. I want to partner with you. I don't look at sponsors. I look at these are partners. They are on the same journey and path that we see to be successful here.
And just to be just to be clarifying what he's saying is before anybody jumps and gets upset, I don't think anybody will be upset because at this point we're just all glad that the track is opening back up. But and you correct me if I'm wrong, David, what I'm hearing is these are not mandatory rules, but we as racers and everybody listening, we need to help you as much as we can with the challenges that we have going around within the community.
Exactly.
That community, because you got that community there that's trying to shut this drag strip down. So you're saying instead of us going out there and saying, woohoo, the track's back opening, let's be as loud as we can, let's have fun, screw them. You're saying, look, guys, we're very fortunate to open this back up. Let's try to be neighbors as much as we can.
We got to
understand. I don't expect mufflers on all cars, which we're not getting mufflers on on all cars. But you're just saying if you see an opportunity to get a quiet generators or put mufflers on your car, any help you can get am I understanding that correctly?
You're spot on. I mean, it's and by the way, we don't need to solve world hunger overnight, but we can baby step this thing to show that we are truly committed to making a positive difference. And that positive difference needs to be seen not only at what I was telling you from the corporate world, it needs to be seen from the fans. It needs to be seen from all of our county and city officials that we are doing the right things and are on a vision to make this a much better family-friendly environment.
And Tim, Tim Hagler, he mentioned that, in the past, mufflers was a requirement. It didn't last a year and all. And I understand that's not going to be possible for a lot of folks who can't afford generators. I had a Briggenstaden generator for forever. But
I've already went to two of our sponsors here, our partners that we've got. They both have pawn shops and they're purposely putting every single inverter generator and they're cutting deals. You can get those things for $200, $250. And again, I'm not going to force someone to go do something that's outside their financial means.
That's right.
But if you want to be able to help us change the and from it, even taking I know it sounds crazy, but think about it from this side. I watched a guy pitching. I won't name the corporate sponsor, but you know him, and you know the racer too. He is trying to literally pitch a sponsorship deal on his car, and he cannot even have a conversation in his pits with his car because the person moved it on the back side of their trailer, of course, not on their side where they're at. And then all the way, this same guy, his car runs 200 miles an hour in an eighth a mile. And, he got up the next morning, he didn't sleep well. So, is that the environment we want for our guys that are truly fast, So we just got to put some thought into that.
I know some people are like, ooh, I can't put mufflers on my car, but I think most of us would agree that the Briggs and Stratton generator should be banned from the racetrack. I've seen all the Briggs and Stratton generator.
Well, you ever notice?
I'm in for that. I think it needs to be a rule. I'll just plug in somebody else.
We told some the other day that they were looking for like an exclusion. So one of the girls here was writing up some rules that said if you'll take that Briggs and Stratton generator, keep it on your side of the pits, right next to where your car is. Don't move it. Don't run the extension cord. We're going to give you a pass. So.
And Cody, all the muffler guys are tuning in. Cody Spears says she'll be a bonus to the winner if they ran mufflers. All these quiet guys, y'all just
tell Cody don't put that past. That is one of the things that got put on the table. We haven't.
Cody Spears, good idea. Maybe coming up.
Yeah.
So I know. So let's get to some more information, and I'm kind of jumping around here. So
okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
We got plenty of time. So a couple of things I want to talk about. I'll let you choose what you want to talk about next. I want to talk about schedule, number one. First of all, are you done with the rules? Are there any more rules that we need to address for the track?
I could go over all the rules. There's a set of rules out
those
there.
Those are the two biggest ones. Are there any big?
Those are the biggest. And just we need a positive culture change. It's got to be a positive culture change. And there's a lot of factors that are involved in that. Again, I mentioned about the insurance. Poor Duck had a situation at his race a year or so ago where a kid on a four-wheeler runs into a lady, breaks her hip.
Oh, wow.
Another person gets hit right after that. Well, guess what? The ambulance had to leave and they had to shut the race down for a period of time. So all of those type things factor into the cost that we have, and then also the efficiency that we're able to run the event. So all of those type things we need to look at. And I'm just asking for people where they can, let's make a difference.
Oh, thank you. I agree with you. And I feel like as racers, including myself in the past, and I feel like it's easy to get defensive. And I'm asking everyone on the call, it's easy to get defensive and say, I don't like that rule, or heck, I've always done it this way, or it's a timing system issue. I think it's going to be a team effort to make this thing work. So I feel like a lot of times track operators are seen as the bad guy with these rules and trying to enforce different rules. I think we need a different approach. I think, number one, we shouldn't be posting bad things on Facebook, bad experiences. Pick up the phone, call David, call Stephen Farrell, call James Adcock, call Brad Wheeler at the track, call these different track promoters and say, I have a suggestion. I had this issue. Or I disagree with this rule on X, Y, and Z. Have you thought about this? So I think that's going to be important moving forward that we
really
get behind our drag strip, not criticize and post on Facebook.
You just mentioned a key piece. Sometimes the internet, like even here, we never responded back when people said it's a golf course, the hospital bought it, all those different pieces. You can't control what people are going to say. But people that really have an issue, they need to pick the phone up, send us a direct message. We'll come talk to you. When you get on the internet and start this firestorm of negativity and suppressive personality type things that are just not beneficial for the growth of the track, those things just get us at a roadblock.
Okay, so the majority have voted in the comments. I think I've received 30 comments that junior dragsters should have mufflers. I'm not getting into that. Ben Willis, you even promoted junior races, and so everybody else. I'm not getting into that one.
We're going to give you a little breaking news. Speaking of Ben, so myself and Ben have been working a deal with Mike Boss Dragsters. We're in the final stages, but at the end of October, I believe we're going to have the Junior Dragster Nationals here.
Okay.
We've already got the preliminary stages that set in place. We got a few more little dot the I's and cross the T's, but I'm excited to get Ben and the team from Mike Boss down here, and let's get that, because I'm really big into the kids, and growing this sport for the next generation.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll go into that because I was going to give you an option of if we talk about schedule next or classes next or schedule, but let's go into the classes because I'm getting a lot of questions about what kind of classes, grudge racing, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a bracket racer. Bracket racing is one of my favorite sport. I recently got into NT, no time racing, grudge racing. I'm building a radial car. I'm excited about that. So I've had about 10 people in the comments already ask about grudge racing. So we're going to go over the classes and stuff and kind of what your vision is. So let's kind of go down the list.
Yeah. So I'll give you. So in general, here's kind of the theme we've laid out here. And again, I'm trying to make sure we don't walk or step on some existing events. I've tried to reach out to the track owners that's again in that 100-mile radius to kind of see, where their big events are and the same. And if you look back when my dad raced, just to kind of, I give you that number of 676 races in 3 years. Back when my dad raced, you could race 5 days out of the 7. That's, and maybe someday we get back to that, where it's prime for the number of tracks we have in our area. But when so first Saturday of the month is bracket racing.
Okay.
Second Saturday of the month is when we're doing our big events, and I'm going to try to blow it out. We're doing out of the box thinking. We want people to ooh and ah, and maybe people that's never been to a drag race are going to say, I'm coming to that.
Is the out of the box stuff, does it include, I know we saw the Top Fuel stuff. Is that going to be do you group the radial racing in that big group category?
In some cases we will, and it's a mixed bag there, but that second Saturday will be a mixed bag of some of that radial racing.
The Radio Fest is coming back. Is that correct?
Radio Fest, Mike Jones, Zach Jones, and the Jones family. We've got that potted for April the 4th through the 7th. And I expect to break an attendance record for that. That has got the most feedback of any race. We're working the actual classes for that now. But we've got LDR that's definitely booked. And part of that is the Outlaw Drag Radial Series is there too. So we've got people that are coming out of town, and we're finding locations to secure their trailers so they can leave them here and do the Radio Fest and the Outlaw Drag Radial event up at Steel as well.
That'll be great. So all right. So you're saying the bracket race is going to be the first Saturday of every month. So this is going to be set throughout the year. Is that going to be
the plan? Yes. And part of the thing that I've been struggling with is we know we're doing bracket racing. I've reached out. You mentioned Andy Anderson, some others there. I've reached out to multiple bracket racers, try to advise me and see how we're going here. I've had multiple of some of your names you mentioned about doing some big money promotion pieces, and those have not been finalized yet. And that's kind of what we're holding on to get the schedule out. But, just look at it as the first and third is bracket racing. The first and third. Yeah.
All right.
And then the fourth Saturday, we're looking to be street and heads up type classes.
Okay. All right. So what about grudge racing? Number one, grudge racing, your no time racing, and your no prep racing.
So I was approached about a no time event. So, and we've got, a couple of very fast cars here that want to do the no time. One of the things, and I don't know how to separate these two yet, but someone's going to have to help me. I told you what my parameters were from being a family friendly environment. I'm looking for these events to be executed very efficiently, and things like rampant gambling, things of more of a party scene rather than being about the races. That environment has to be in line with what our vision is here. Right. And if we're saying that we can do a grudge race and it's in line with that, then I'm willing to have that discussion.
Right. Okay. So with that being said, anyone that no time races or grudge racing definitely need to reach out to you, have those conversations. That what you're saying. Right. Because I know we do have.
When you look at the classes that we've got set up, so there's about 9 assorted classes. So I'll name them all for you. We've got limited drag radial. Those rules have been set by Jason Ruckert and Krosno. We've got the real steel IHRA, which is, kind of a all steel, all glass class. That's run by the IHRA side. We've been working on for the last probably 6 weeks or so, a class called all steel and some glass. That's probably been my most humbling experience. We've reached out to multiple people. I've reached out to engine builders, and literally, I think I have 40 different rule sets in my DM box trying to get this thing potted. And we've got to put some more synergy on that. We've got a Rocket City street class. So if you look at that all steel some glass, let me give you kind of the times. We think the LDR is going to be, which you've seen that before, high 3s, low 4s. We think the all steels IHRA class is going to be low to mid 4s. We think the all steel sunglass, we're shooting for it to be kind of a mid to high 4-second range. The Rocket City street class, we're thinking it's going to be low to mid 5s. The Rockets Radical class is mid to high 5s. And then we've got a hard tire class. We think we've done multiple assessments, but that tire will be a 300 treadwear tire, not the 200s. It will be a 300, and we're hoping that's going to be in the mid to high 7s. We really want a heads up class that some younger people and people that drive their cars daily can compete in. So then we've got, of course, the pro mods.
And speaking of the pro mods, you had some exciting news
breaking news.
I've been breaking news. Here we go. Let's hear about the pro mods.
So, we talked about having people help, and even the team I got. There's only so much we can do, and I've reached out. So one of the conversations we reached out to was Jeffrey Walker. I'd asked Jeffrey, can you do these couple of things, kind of give him some limited parameters. And I asked him, he said, well, hey, kind of what do you think? I said, well, look, there's no doubt you've got the passion and you've got the contacts and the desire to make this happen. He's put on multiple pro mod events on his own. And I said, hey, if you'll take the old ProModifieds.us series that Brian Cupp had, where they followed the series long and then paid a points fund at the end, if we could do that, I'll throw some money in on that. Well, guess what? Not only did he take that vision, but he went off and did it. So breaking news here today is the Southern Pro Mod Shootout is coming back. It's got Brian Cupp's blessing. Brian's off in mini retirement land. Jeffrey Walker's going to run this thing. He's already secured a big basket of cash that's coming in for the finals. Right now, we've already booked April the 27th as the kickoff for that shootout event. We've got July the 12th and 13th, our night of thunder and fire. We're going to have the jet cars, pro mod fields with the Southern PM pro mod shootout here. And then we're going to try to finish up in September for the finals. And Jeffrey's working through multiple tracks within a couple of mile radius. He's not ready to announce those. We should get those out probably in the next couple of weeks, but he's been actively working with different track owners and promoters. But this thing is just going to be great to have someone that's organizing this, that can kind of help with the rules and bringing outlaw pro mod back to North Alabama and the surrounding community. Is going to be a huge, huge hit with the fans.
And thank you so much, Jeffrey. I talked to Jeffrey. I sent him a message on that. I was excited to hear this news about this series, because the guys, and I dropped the ball, your Hank Stubbs and Gordon and all those, after we had the drag coverage race in Atmore, we had over 28 pro mods there. They asked me to put together a series, and of course, with the drag coverage and everything, it just hasn't been possible for me. So I'm excited, Jeffrey, and I sent Jeffrey a note and said I was about to work on some things. So I'm excited to know that Jeffrey is taking that and running. So Hank Stubbs, Big Money Bill Clanton, the Batman, which is one of my favorite teams. Don't tell everybody that.
Yeah.
Batmobile, all these guys. Looks like a pro mod series is coming. That's going to be at multiple tracks. Kind of what y'all vision. So
reach out to Jeffrey
Walker.
Yeah, so we've got we've probably got 10 or 12 pro mods here just locally. You mentioned that we've got the Troy Shoemate and the Punisher, R&R Speed Shop
team right there.
R&R Speed Shop. Kevin Reed's got his brand new painted
Andy Pinkerton, Skippy, all those guys.
Yeah, Skippy's old time Huntsville boy. So I'm excited about this. What it's going to bring to us, and just to put a little pressure on Jeffrey. I did have to break out a few contacts. So I did call Scotty Cannon and Tommy Mooney and just let them know that it may be time to come back down and let's get the band together.
So what about our index racing?
So we've got
Verge racing too. Somebody mentioned Verge. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just on the two deals that we were the closest on, securing, and I don't take failure well, and it stops here, right? I should have been more aggressive about and negotiating in a different way. But Verge, what a great group of guys, what a great team they put together, and they're paying big money in index racing. We were close in negotiating a date. that door is open. I'm looking forward to further negotiations. And
6070. What about that?
Yeah,
6070,
6070.
650. You're going to have some races on those?
Yep, we're doing 6070 here. I'm trying to work. I've got Greg Tubbs, local guy here that runs the Verge series. Wade Mooney is touched base with us. He is helping out with the Verge. We're looking at maybe doing some 470 stuff there as well.
Somebody asked about motorcycle. You going to have any motorcycle stuff?
Motorcycles. So motorcycles, something, I'll be fair to you. I don't, I don't know a lot about motorcycles, but I have reached out to some of the OGs here. We're trying to formulate a plan for the bikes. We're in the initial stages of that motorcycle planning. Interestingly enough, a longtime friend of the families, the Harris family, Bear Harris was one of the original OGs here of drag racing. His family, his mother was the Harris Home for Children. He's founded the original drag event here. So we want bikes to be a part of it. We're just trying to work the parameters that benefit everybody involved.
Test and tune.
So our initial goal is it's going to be a mixed bag. It'll be sometimes Friday, sometimes Sunday, sometimes both. And some of that has to do with some of the scheduling opportunities. But in general, we're looking at the test and tune on Fridays from like 5 to 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then on Sundays, it's going to be after church services, like 1 to 5.
All right. And Wesley, I asked about the no time racing, and to my understanding, David, you mentioned it before. He definitely open to some no time racing. The environment he's trying to create, and it wasn't directed towards no time racing by any means.
No, it was not.
The grudge racing environment and all. He just wants to make sure this is a family oriented event.
Yeah,
at least the grudge racing and the betting and all that.
Yeah,
I'm a grudge racer now.
Yeah, but, we can't. I can't. That's part of the. We're maybe tunnel vision down a little bit, but I have not told anyone. No one from my team has said we do not want this type racing. We've even looked at putting an RC track here to have the RC racing, take place. But again, whoever decides they want an event or they want to race as part of this facility, it has got to be a family-friendly, positive culture. And, granted, do I like going to some of those events where they're throwing the big money, but it doesn't do me any favors for somebody to, put $15,000 on a race while I've got, 30 of the Boy Scouts standing next to them. So that's something we got to think about.
So, and I'm gonna lead us to our next part of the schedule. So 2 other things I want to talk about. Number 1, I want to talk about schedule and timeline. You've had a lot of things going on. There's been a lot of doubts about this place even opening up. So I want to talk about schedule, timeline, and what we can think. And for the viewers that don't understand, this track was basically sitting and abandoned. And David has been working hours and hours in his team to get this place back open. So these schedules and these ideas are all developing. I feel like you're drinking out of a water hose, David. A lot of times.
No, it's not a water hose. It is a fire. It is a fire hose. And again, another broken record that we're playing is when you do the math, we really want to be open in March. So we're just counting the days.
And that was my question. Right? So when you say March, is that the ultimate goal to be open in March?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal is get March. And we'll probably do a little bit of soft opening with some invites. Like, again, we've had multiple test sessions, but it's a lot different when we've had to buy multiple pieces of concession equipment, track prep equipment. So there's, and we've got pretty much a all new team. I've got a lot of seasoned veterans, and we talked about some of that, some of those people has volunteered to help you take, like Jimmy Smith was a multi-year national IHRA tech director, has come in. So again, going back to what I told you about safety, there's, again, we're not going to try to stop people from racing, but we're going to try to advise them how they can be the safest they can be here and some opportunities where they can improve to make it the most beneficial for the facility and themselves.
And I agree with you, Brody Kittle. The Megan Lemon, Scott Lemon, the DRR series, everybody loved that series. Drive for 75, Andy.
Yeah, so was
pretty cool. But
there was 3. There was DRR, there was the Drive for 75, and there was one other that's on the whiteboard. I don't have it here behind me, but
and Eric Mann joined in. He said, "What did I miss?" When I think Lance Kittle, or you were asking what Lance Kittle asked. He basically just told you need to get a new generator Eric, that Briggs and Stratton you have is not working out, at least with your band.
Yeah.
But so I want the viewers and all, please, I want you to ask some questions for David. Please put them in the comments right now. While I go to the next question, I want these comments to, we'll take a few comments before we sign off, but please put your comments in the, Eric says negative on the generator.
I got you.
We were joking with you, Eric, but
we're going to extend it. We're going to keep extending him the olive branch.
Yeah, that's right. Please ask your questions to David right now. While you are typing your questions in, and we'll take a few questions right now. So, David, you say we're going to open up in March.
Yep.
And once you open up in March, when can we expect a full schedule?
The full schedule should be out here probably in the next couple of weeks. Really, the couple of things that's lingering there is there's pretty much the schedule from what is going to happen there is potted. We've got multiple corporate sponsorships that are weighing into this about trying to get our partners in line with the vision we got there. We should be making an announcement here in a week or so about a major corporate sponsor that's coming on board, and we'll take all of that type help we can get, because this is it takes a village of not only people but money to reinvest in a facility like this to get it at like we were talking about, to get to like an Indianapolis or one of the other major facilities in the United States. We've got Radio Fest coming in April 4th, 7th, and we'll definitely want to have some big events in front of that to ensure that we've got the crew all trained and prepped and ready to go.
All right, great. So we got some questions coming in, and so Brandy Butler. Just to be transparent, I'm a grudge racer and an NT racer, no time racer.
Yeah.
So David did say that he is open to that. He just wants to make sure we create an environment for everybody that's family oriented. So, and there are plenty of, in my opinion, plenty of great no time racing events. Just to name a few, I enjoy the Pat Callan events. I plan on racing with Pat. I plan on racing with Mike the Hitman Hill. Mike's one of the best promoters when it comes to that. So those no time and grudge racing events definitely are welcome. I mean, those type of events, we just want to make sure we create a great environment. And I'll be honest, I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, I've been to some events and they're not family oriented, and some that are. But I've been to Mike Hill's events. I've been to
one of the other key factors. One of the things I've probably been asked. We talked about some of the rules. Probably one of the bigger things I've been asked about is the curfew.
Yeah, good question. Curfew.
Yeah, so if you take the curfew, I don't even know if the curfew needs to come into the equation as much. To me, is that we need to be more efficient. I've been to races that you've been a part of, like you mentioned, some of that Drive for Five. The bracket racers, the big time bracket racers, I need to be efficient like that, where you don't even have to call the guys. They know they hit the battery, hit a splash, and they come back and they're back in the lanes getting ready to take care of business. So what that means to you is you're able to get an event done in a timely fashion. I want to be able to, I think one of the things that is not good for our sport is to have a family, especially the way the economy is right now, that you charge a family of 4 to come out and the dad brings his older kids out. They go to see the race and we don't show them the finals, and we run the finals at 2 a.m. and that kind of thing. That is not the culture I'm looking for. If I'm going to charge somebody, I want them to be able to see the finals, and I want to be able to see the finals in a timely fashion. So that is not easy, by the way. That falls in the really, really hard category, but that is the goal we're driven to.
It's interesting you say that. And before we go into the questions, I'll add this one thing. I used to be upset about curfews. I used to always think, why do we have a curfew? I hate the city. Well, not hate the city. I dislike the city for putting curfews. And, someone, I can't even remember who brought it up to it, made a good point. And it was very simple. They said, TJ, you shouldn't be racing past midnight anyway. And I thought about it. I said, what spectator and what racer, we don't need to be racing that late anyway. And so I think we need to change our mindset from racing, in my opinion. And I'm no track operator, I'm no track owner. I promoted a few races, but I think we need to change our mindset that racing does not need to be raced to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So I think we need to change our mindset to make it as efficient as we can.
And as we're trying to show, the value to a true corporation that's vested and partnered with you, They don't go into a venture with a baseball or a football stadium expecting that game to get over at 2 or 3 in the morning. They expect the fans to be
I
able to
agree.
see it and their name get out there in a strong positive light.
All right. So we got some questions. Any other things, Dave, you want to add before we get to the questions?
Let me just hit a couple of things on. Do you want to go to the schedule now or you want to do it afterwards?
Yeah, you go to the schedule now if you want to
So
briefly talk
a couple
about it. You
notes
got
on
to
the
talk about all
schedule.
the dates, but if you just kind of want to briefly
Yeah,
talk
so
about
we mentioned the Nitro event. So we've got
and there was a question about the Nitro event. I believe Jim Gleason asked about the Nitro event. So go ahead.
okay. So on the Nitro event, we've got Nitro burning top fuelers coming May the 10th through the 11th. On Thursday, that Thursday being the 9th, we're doing a cruise in at one of the local restaurants here. We're going to have a couple of the top feelers there. The plan is to run those, qualify under the lights at night on Friday. And then on Saturday, not only are we qualifying the top feelers, but we've got Nostalgia Pro Stock booked at that event also. Mountain Motor Pro Stocks manual shift with the clutch. So you'll get to see that. And also we've got a couple of heads up classes we're going to add into that mix. But you're going to see the top field guys are just really aligned with what our culture wants to be. They're going to do a little raffle thing to allow kids to be pit crew on some of the top fuel teams. They're going to allow all the cars to kind of be coalesce together so that kids can come and sit in the car and see what it's like. And you go look at Thrillbilly Stack, Shane. He's probably puts 800 or 900 kids in his car a year, and he just does it because he knows that somebody needs to buy our stuff when they get older, right? So,
Yeah.
And then, so if you look, I mentioned the concert, Memorial Day weekend. I got the Blues and Funk Festival. We've got the Nitro Burning Fuel Altars. I've got the conversation with both Brian Hope with the Rat Trap. We've got the Rat Poison, but we're looking for 8 AA fuel altars. We're getting that finalized on that date. I mentioned the Night of Thunder and Fire with the jet cars and the pro mods in July. We've got the Octane Car Cruise that's on August the 9th. We're going to do the largest cruise in Alabama, we hope. The previous record, I believe, is around 430. We're expecting to have 500 plus cars cruising the drag strip. We're going to let everybody race. And, somebody maybe never been an opportunity to go down the track. We got the Outlaw Streetcar Association in September. I mentioned the IHRA Division 8 finals first part of October. And really excited. Ryan Fears and the group out of ADRL are coming back to Huntsville, Alabama.
That's going to be
cool. With the pro mods. And that's part of the reason we were trying to finish up the series for the Southern PM shootout. So those guys also have an opportunity to race at the ADRL race in October, late October. And then I'd mentioned to you, we're finalizing the deal for the junior dragsters here at the end of October. But you'll see a lot of other events being announced as we finalize the schedule and looking to put that out the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. That's a lot of exciting things that are going on that are very spectator based, which, you got to have those at a track. So another couple of questions we got here. So what rules are you going to have about fans on the starting line?
Ooh, you're getting the tough ones out front, right?
You can thank the Batmobile, Tim and Karen Seegers.
Yeah, so
what about fans on the starting line?
Yeah, that is going to be on a limited basis. I do not like that is again an insurance problem. I got it. People like it to be up close, but at Huntsville, there's not a bad seat. We mentioned how close and some of it is I just want to be there. But you think the way an automatic transmission works with that little ball, that check ball goes over and locks that thing up in first reverse, and I just cringe when I see that many people and an accident can happen. Nobody goes in saying I want an accident to happen, but when they do, bad things do happen. So we're going to have some limited when we have VIPs and stuff, but I am not a fan of 200 and 300 people on the start line.
Next question. Your bracket, an IHRA bracket series. What is someone asked, have you came up with the payout structures on that?
That's part of this thing I was talking that we're working with some of our sponsors about the payout and the pieces we're doing. And that's one of the ones that's, like number 2 on the list right now that we're trying to get. We are going to run, the plan right now is to run basically what we would consider the pro category, the foot brake category, and the bike category. And I've got to go back with with our Division 8 director here at IHRA just to finalize some of those plans.
So you're saying you're going with the IHRA rules. Will it be, I guess, box? Will it be no box or foot brake?
You put me on the spot there because my son.
You don't have to answer that. Somebody asked that
put a
as
hard
a
question to me.
I'd have to bring
little
probably
man,
the
but
toughest question
he
I've
was
asked.
telling me the difference between box, no box, sportsman, and all the rest of it, and I told him just to handle it. So,
all right. So yeah, he's not going to answer the foot brake or no box question, y'all. That's a tough one. That's probably the toughest one we asked. Somebody,
I may have to get you pulled in there. So again, I reached out. I've reached out to Shane Carr. I've reached out to Andy Anderson. I've reached out to multiple bracket racers, kind of get their input. And again, I want the full spectrum. That granted they do some of the bigger money races, but I want to make sure that the big money bracket racers, the local loyal racers, and people that are entry level bracket, that they have a place to race. And how we formulate that to tell them to race in this class, there's a lot of classes we can pick, and you're right. Sometimes that makes my head hurt, even on the TV events that we watch.
Somebody asked about SEGA, which is the Gassers Association. Have you talked to any of those folks or reached out?
Yeah. So another one I kicked myself on. We were really close on negotiations, and I do mean really close. Myself and Quayne Stott go way back from pro mod days of racing, and we've been working at Leslie Horn and his team with the Platt and Smith and the others that's over there helping them. They're just doing great things. And, I travel if you ask me my preference, we would pretty much do mainly gassers and old school drag racing. I travel a lot to the West Coast to watch the old school drag racing. I love the gassers. And we weren't able to get an agreement, but we're in negotiations, and I'd love to have them here in 2025. And, my goal is, we want that event just the same way with the Nitro cars that come here in May. We're going to bring a professional track crew prep in here, and I want the record for the gassers here in Huntsville. I want the record for the Nitro cars, and I want the record for the ADRL cars here. So I know that's big talk, but people forget that Huntsville, Alabama had the largest, pretty much every record in the United States. That concrete surface is fast and it's consistent, and we aim to bring it back.
Awesome. What I got another question here. What what is the curfew that the city has put into place?
The curfew, for me to go into that with y'all, would be, it's just so, I'm not going to call it complicated, but I'll give you an example. There's even a couple of lawsuits in town right now. I don't want to go into too much details, but they put an amphitheater local in town, and there were complaints from the neighborhood about the noise. There were complaints about the hotels, from the hotel saying it hurt their business. In general, just to put it in crux, if you look at the way the noise ordinance is written, most people that are doing noisy things, whether even if it's a stadium playing music or vice versa, are probably violating the noise ordinance. What I believe is again, we're running a business here, and we intend to run the business. But we need to do that as being the best neighbor we can be. And, I don't know any time that we would run pro mods here at 2:00 in the morning. I don't know any time I would have somebody on the PA system in October when there's no leaves and no trees, and they're worked up about a potential match race and maybe using verbiage that's not conducive to the church clientele. So there's, our thing is, I'm not as worried as much about the curfew and the noise ordinance. Is I need to control the things that I can control. And the things I can control is, as I mentioned earlier, there's things that the racers can do to help us. And, being more efficient, being ready, locked and loaded. So when you're called, that you're ready to go down the track. And those type things all factor into this environment of making it where that the city and the county are liking what we're doing.
Great. A couple other questions, and I'm going to ask 3 more questions, and then I'm going to let you close it out. So will there be any multi-day big bucks bracket racing? Well, they didn't say big bucks, but I assume big bucks when they said multi-event bracket racing or multi-day bracket racing there other than the IHRA point series? So I assume you're going to have the IHRA point series, right? Box,
Yeah, IHRA point series for sure. On
box,
some of
no
the
box,
bigger,
junior dragster. You said motorcycles, right?
yeah, motorcycles. Yep.
So the typical IHRA point series,
Typical
which will
IHRA
be
standard. And
once
then
a month.
when we start talking about some of these bigger races that make yourself and some of the other heavy hitters kind of salivate, it used to be 5 and 10,000 kind of got y'all worked up. Now you got to be throwing 50 or 100 round. And so when we get events like that, in general, something else different is we don't rent the track. This is about a venture that we're doing to try to grow racing. There are people that want to put events on, and we need to make sure when they're trying to do those events that they have the financial solvency that they're able to cover those purses and those pieces there. And so some of those, like those big buck bracket races, those are the ones where that's not my specialty. That's more yours. I may have to get you to fly down here with Andy and some of these others and sit in the conference room with me. But
add me to the board.
Yeah, how we do I want to do it? Yes. When you start talking about a risk profile on, a risk versus reward type thing, I think we're aware probably not as many spectators at those events, and I'm okay with that. And I want the bracket racing to be huge. But when we get those purses that are the really big purses, I got to make sure that we have the driver, the owners, and the participants that are bought into what we're trying to do here for that kind of money.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Got a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna let you close it out. Someone asked about new seats. I don't know that we need any new seats there. So I mean,
So here I'll tell you what they're talking about. So originally, this facility has 7,200 seats for the bleachers. When the 2 tornadoes come through, it did some damage to the seats, the bleachers,
okay,
the wood profile. So yes, we're actually doing a sample section to kind of see how that works. We did get a quote. Probably some of the biggest numbers that I've been quoted is we're trying to, as I mentioned in that when you looked at the map, we were trying to do a tractor pulling track, and we're committed to make that happen. A tractor, the sled itself was, I think, quoted to deliver to the track was $455,000. When you start talking about putting new bleachers up, that is a serious investment, and we want the bleachers fixed. Again, if you want an 8th mile facility and you want a national event, you got to go high and you got to have a lot of seats. So that is something that's in our plans. And yes, we understand the bleachers, and it's got to be it's a combination of things. We got to have clean bathrooms. We've got to have adequate bathrooms. A mom's got to bring their kid and go in and take them to the bathroom. And it's got to be, a pleasant environment. No different if you were at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's.
That's outstanding. And that last question, any plans on having rear engine top fuel dragsters or top fuel funny cars at Rocket City in the future?
So, that is probably the biggest change. I've got something I'm working that we have been working for about 3 months. We're in our 3rd round of negotiations. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but if this event with the promotion team comes through, you'll look back and say, man, Dave, I can't believe y'all pulled that off. But yes, we are looking at, when you look, if y'all get a chance, go online. If you like history, go read about Bill Donner, who was one of the old promoters on the West Coast. The closest thing we have to him is no ifs, ands, and buts. It's Donald Duck Long. Whether you like what Donald's doing, he is the most charismatic promoter in the business.
I agree.
A guy that can put 800 cars on a Wednesday, and whether you like what he says or you don't, maybe I want to be like him, maybe not over the top. And I've extended the olive branch to Donald, and I want him here in Huntsville with his series. He is growing this sport, and what he's doing is kind of the way we want to align ourselves on what I call that wow and that kind of gotcha factor.
And I guess, and I'm gonna close it out with my last question.
Okay.
Is as far as I know, a lot of this stuff has been sitting, like the timing system
Yep.
And I guess y'all are doing, or you're doing your own track prep for now. I guess y'all have some specials, or got some folks coming in to help you with the track
Yeah, we
prep
got some people.
and
We've
make sure
reached
the
out.
timing system and all that's
Yeah,
working.
so we've
A lot
had the
of
timing
things
system. We've run it. I've had the Odolite out there, make sure the distance and all that's right. My son just got his bracket car back racing, so he's been using it more than anybody. But it shows good. We new phone blocks, new wiring in places, new sound system. We just put in. We don't have it installed yet, but we just bought a $40,000 sound system for out there.
Oh, wow, that would be great.
So it's we're trying to and again, you see those things on the map. This is a phased approach, and we know people want this track. We know people love this track, and we are committed to putting the investment back in this track and growing this positive culture that we want to see our facility be like. And by the way, and there's going to be some cases where, like you mentioned, call Dave Sharp. You're more than welcome to DM me, pick up the phone. That's how the motorcycle thing started. It's just people is having conversations about it. But there's going to be cases where we're going to agree to disagree. That doesn't make it where I dislike you. It doesn't make it where you should dislike me. It's just we have a difference of opinion, maybe in a business profile or business situation, and those things. But I want to have that dialogue too. And we're open-minded about what is the best for this facility and what is the best for our racers and our fans.
Yeah, and David, it's interesting you say that. I always say, so I'm no track operator, I'm no track owner by any means, but I do promote 3 races a year. And out of all the things I do all year, whether it's working, I've worked storms, I work for the power company. I mean, I have a very busy job, but out of all the things I do every year, promoting those 3 races are the most difficult thing that I do all year long. It's the most stressful. I'm dealing with rain, I'm dealing with sponsors, I'm dealing with racer complaints. I've even had racers question my integrity. And those that know you, that know me, understand. You have to make a call on different races. I'm saying all that to say that David has spoke with us today, and there may be things that we don't, that people or you or people different may not agree on. But please, let's back him, because when he's making these decisions, he's got to make a decision. There's going to be some tough decisions, and a lot of things are going to be out of David's control. But more than anything, I want to make sure that everyone understands. It would be great if we can get everybody's support as much as possible, and he's open to any feedback rather than blasting or getting on Facebook and all. I think that's going to be important, not just for David in Huntsville, in Rocket City Dragway, but drag racing in general. I think it's going to be important that we lift each other up, give feedback rather than blast and criticize. Because and one thing, you lightly talked about it today, but there are a lot of challenges, and we're not even going into that now, but I can't imagine the amount of challenges dealing with the community, the mayor, getting this place off the ground. So thank you so more than anything. So before we criticize or anything, and I'm getting a lot of thanks and great job, David, and all, but those that have any doubts, just think about the amount of time and effort he has put into this to make this happen. And I want to thank you from myself and drag coverage in the racing community for your time, work, and effort for making this happen, because this is a historic, iconic place to race. And I've had the very fortunate opportunity to race there. And it means a lot to a lot of different people.
Yeah. So, I appreciate the positive words, and, I'm the one that gets up here and gets to kind of do all the speaking, but, the team gets the credit, what they're doing as far as you mentioned. That's one of the things that's really come to the forefront. You don't really need about 1 or 2 races to really oversaturate you from a promotion standpoint. When you're talking about putting on 50 races, at some point you got to say enough's enough, right?
That's right.
That's enough for this particular show. You don't need to just kill it every single. You don't need to have that much risk involved in every single race. But I've got a passion for cars and hot rodding. I think the piece that resonates the most with me. I saw some of these tracks that I went to when I was a kid. I mentioned Atlanta, Memphis, and those, and now they're closed. And people, we got to be more uplifting. That's to me is a sad state of affairs, right?
That's right.
And this piece that this challenge and this journey that we've taken is not going to be easy. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna make mistakes. The team's gonna make mistakes. Is it intentional? No. Am I going to try to learn from those mistakes? Yes. But at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, this is a corporation,
Yep.
and I'm just the piece that gets to talk to y'all. I've got partners that weigh into this, and they have a financial investing piece of, and all of us have bosses. And at the end of the day, someone's got to make the final decision, and that falls in my camp. And I hope that we can have constructive dialogue. If we agree, there's no benefit to bashing the team or the track or those type things. It's got to be okay. It's no different from you holding 3 and putting a 001 on me, and I thought I was going to win the race. Right?
Yep.
I'm mad for that 30 seconds, and it means you go to dinner later.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Just to kind of tag on, I'm preaching to the choir right now, and I feel like I'm on a soapbox. But you're so right. It's not if you make a mistake. You're gonna make calls and you're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect. You got to run a business, and there's gonna be some time you're gonna be say, oh, man, I shouldn't have made that call, or crap, that happened. We're all human, so just keep that in mind. And there may be some hiccups when this track first opened, but you know what? Just continue to encourage David to keep going, pushing forward.
All I ask for is an opportunity, right?
Opportunity.
I need an opportunity to win your business. If you don't come to the track, I never get that opportunity. The work that the people are doing, the buy-in of this family-friendly culture that I want to evolve to, this corporate kind of mentality that I want to grow this thing to. I have to, we've got to have the fan support, and I've got to have the racer support. And if there's something that I'm doing that you don't like, it could be even the shirt that I got on. You're not going to hurt my feelings by bringing it up. We can talk about it. I'm telling you, in my journey along, my regular career, there's disagreements every day, but it's in a positive light to sometimes, again, like I said, agree to disagree. And we're excited about what the Rocket City Dragway means, not only to the racing community, but as an event center. If you have ideas for ways that we could use this facility, we've got a couple of unique bracket race that I didn't announce here. I got to save a little bit for some of the other interviewers, TJ. But you got the big rocks there. That pro mod thing, I'm just so excited about. I raced with a good friend of mine for about 5 or 6 years in pro mod, and that's where my heart was. But we quickly realized we were spending our kids' college education out the exhaust pipe. So, but I want everyone to know that we are committed to this. We are committed to putting some infrastructure back in. Again, it's over a phased approach. And if you're a business or a company that has got the financial means to assist us on this journey, I'm more than willing to have that conversation, show you some of the benefits, and very much like what you're doing here, TJ. Again, I didn't say that because I was joking earlier. I mean, the way you present yourself and the way you present drag coverage, that is what I want Rocket City Dragway. I mean, you're always smiling, you're always in a positive, upbeat, and it's tough. Like when you got 3 events and you had somebody do something, you had to kick them out. You didn't want to, but the rules are the rules, and that makes for a long day, right? Absolutely. And you've got a positive attitude, and having Lewis and Andy come on there with Fuel Tech with you, what a great company too. And I may have to fly out to Ball, Georgia, and get him and the ProLine guys together and see if I can't show him my business card as well.
Awesome. Well, David, I think that brings us to the end. You've presented a lot of information. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. And this has been outstanding. It doesn't seem like we've been talking almost 2 hours. We've been talking for 1 hour and 40 minutes. It does not seem it.
I could talk about this track another hour. That doesn't bother me. Whether it's the good or the bad, I want to get the information out to y'all. It's not perfect. It's not where I want to be, but we're going to get there.
What's an email address if anyone wants to reach out to you, give you some suggestions or interested in promoting a race? What's an email address or best way an email? I
So
don't want to give your phone number out. You'll get a million phone calls, but what's an email address or a good way to contact you?
Yeah, so the
I think
easiest
earlier
way,
you
of
said the
course,
Rocket
is,
City Facebook page.
yes, the Rocket City Facebook page. I've got girls that monitor that, and that get a direct message to me. That is the best way we have somebody monitor that full time, and you can go on that website. In fact, TJ, I may have to get you to help me a little bit, but one of the things that out of all this group, between the 96-year-old advisor, myself, and others, we realized we're just horrible at social media. So I've got a couple of people that I'm interviewing. We've had this website for a long period of time. I've had multiple people hack into it, just playing with me.
Well,
but
you let us know. We've
got to
take care
get
of
the
it on the
Rocket City
website.
Dragway.com site back up. But yeah, reach out to us on the Facebook page.
I will.
The girls there are monitoring that pretty much every day. And I will tell you this. I have probably received globally 1,000 messages.
Wow.
And every single one we've responded to. If there's anybody out there that said they sent us a message and that me or the team did not respond to you, resend it because it got lost.
Right. All right. Before we close out, Chris Garner-Jones, great family, said you're doing a great job. So that's really great for Chris.
What a great. I'm telling you. So I'm gonna stop there for a second since you brought up Chris.
And that'll close us out. But
yeah, that'll close us out. So Chris, multi-time now, just won the PDRA World Championship. His dad, TT, and his mother both were integral parts of this facility. When I first met TT, he was with that gentleman I told you that started the motorcycle race, a gentleman by the name of Bear Harris. And that's the first time I met TT. And, Bear told me, and here I am as a little kid, he goes, this guy right here has no fear. He is a real deal when it comes on the motorcycle. And, Chris is, I did reach out to Chris because I want his input to help us along this journey, especially from the motorcycle side. He's graciously offered to help us. And plus, Chris is just right down the road, and he needs a place to test too, as he's putting the double O's and the smackdowns on his competitors there. But and just a thanks to everyone, and just yourself, TJ, and all the others from the IHRA, and to all of my partners that are planning these events, and the individuals. Again, don't just give us a chance. Let us fumble a little bit and call me when I do wrong. But we want this Rocket City Dragway to be the premier drag strip in the South.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great interview. I really enjoy this. You are number 2. You're going down in history. So I'm gonna have a wall. I'm gonna get it like a wall of fame here at the top.
I'm gonna have you at this wall of fame when we do it in May. So if you don't show up, I'm calling you Mama.
I will be there.
When a Southern Mama gets called, it's not good.
Interviews: Donnie Hagar and David Sharp. The first 2 interviews ever. So this is history in the making at Drag Coverage. But David, are we missing anything before we close out?
No, I appreciate it. And hey, we'll plan on getting together with you as we get a little more ironed out here and have another little session. Love to have you out, maybe, and do a live.
Definitely want you back. Definitely want you back.
Track and anytime if you get some feedback or something, TJ, I got an open door policy with you. So
this has been our biggest crowd. Well, we only had 2. This is one of our biggest crowds. So a lot of anticipation. A lot of people are excited for you. It's been great reading all the positive comments saying, "Go, David." Thank you, David. So that's been outstanding. You got a lot of people behind you. So again, thank you, David, for what you're doing. Thank you for agreeing to come on this show.
Appreciate it. And have everybody go on the website, the Rocket City Dragway Facebook. Go like us. Go follow us. Share the page. Same way with drag coverage. Yep. And let's get those things ballooned up. So that's the biggest, cheapest free advertisement we get. So help us out with that. Much appreciated. And TJ, appreciate it. I look forward to you here in the near future.
Awesome. So everyone, have a good day. Thanks for tuning in to the Drag Coverage Show. David, I know you got some things to do, so I really appreciate you joining the show. And have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's the end of it. We had David Sharp come on the Drag Coverage Show, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. We still have a lot of folks that are on the live feed. Y'all, I'm excited about this. I'm really super excited about Huntsville Dragway. It's one of my favorite places to race. I used to live in Birmingham area, and now, thanks, Bo. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Kevin, Donnie, Jim Gleason, David, Lemon, Adcock, James. James is one of my favorites for the Night of Fire. Thank y'all. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Courtney. Oh, Courtney's in. Thank you. We need to get you a new drag coverage sticker for your car, by the way, and those cute pups. But thank y'all. Really appreciate this. Really, that's what keeps me going. I got a full-time job. This drag coverage show, as y'all know, not the drag coverage show, but drag coverage in general has really just been a hobby of mine since I started it. So it's the words and the encouragement that keeps me going to do this, and I really enjoy it. And it's for the benefit of the racing and benefit of drag racing. So Huntsville Dragway, which is now Rocket City Dragway, is opening up. So congrats to everybody on the north. You got a great track coming back to you. Please be open-minded. I know David talked about some different rules and stuff. We got to be a steward of the community. And so just keep an open mind. And thank you, Corey, Tommy, Jeff, all really appreciate it. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate that. Brian Whitworth got the swag. I have that on my list to talk about the y'all check out the TB Promotions, the practice tree race that's coming up, the Derby City 5K practice tree race, January 13th in Indianapolis, the B-Town Winter Throwdown, January 20th in Baileyton. I'm all over the place. Thank you, Tim Sloan, Missy, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Brian, I got to get you back on the show. I got to get you on the show sometime, Brian. Talk about TB Promotions. Thank you, Melvin, Gary Collins, Eric, David. Really appreciate y'all. This is what keeps me going. This is what gets me pumped, the comments like that. So y'all, let's give them a thank you, David. Thank you, Bo. Y'all need TB Promotions at RC Dragway. TB, we need you down here. Well, I'm going to tune out, guys. Thanks again. Like I mentioned before, this is what keeps me going, your comments and tuning in. So thank you. See you, Caleb. Greg Pinsnell, appreciate you. All right. See y'all. Have a good one. See you, Silas.